So why don't you just give us to start your background? You're a 2006 graduate of Endicott College.
Yes.
What did you do right after graduating here?
So I graduated from Endicott in 2006, as you said. So it's been about a decade since I've been back. When I graduated, I went and ran for state representative in New Hampshire. I narrowly lost by 26 votes, thank goodness. And I moved on to become the press secretary for the Massachusetts Speaker of the House when we did Massachusetts health reform, which later became the blueprint for the Affordable Care Act. And fast forward about a decade later, I became the spokesperson for the Affordable Care Act for the federal government in 6 states, all of New England, over the last 3 years. And most recently, I helped with the 2016 election cycle for Planned Parenthood Action Fund.
What made you transition from, running yourself for office into more of a spokesperson for these organizations?
It's a good question. You have to have a really strong gut to run for office. I'm glad I tried it. I do think we live in a time with very little privacy, and I really think it takes a strong heart to put your whole family through the electoral process. That said, it is a wonderful thing to give your life of service. I just think I'm better suited maybe behind the camera.
What was your experience going through what is being called an unprecedented election?
It was an incredible thing to be a part of, particularly working for Planned Parenthood as we advocated for women's health candidates. New Hampshire is a bright spot in the nation. Although Hillary didn't win overall, she did win New Hampshire, and we won the U.S. Senate race up there, and we will be sending the first all-female Democratic delegation to Congress from New Hampshire.
And you're originally from New Hampshire?
I am. I'm from Manchester. That's where I ran for state representative.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So now that the election is over, what are your plans moving forward?
So I'd love to stay working for women's healthcare access. As we've seen, the Trump administration is intent on overturning Roe v. Wade, which is a landmark case that provided abortion rights to women. That's a 50-year-old law, and I'm intent on preserving it. And also Planned Parenthood funding is really critical. It provides birth control and cancer screenings to thousands, millions of low-income women and families in this country, and he's also said he would defund Planned Parenthood and has said most recently that he'd appoint judges to the Supreme Court who will overturn Roe v. Wade. So my hope is to keep working on this agenda, helping empowering women to get the health care they need, and also defending the Affordable Care Act, which has been so critical for a generation of women and families. The war in Iraq is why I really became politically aware 10 years ago. And so I think I initially started working on campaigns. My first ever was the presidential election where George W. Bush was elected, but I worked in the primary for Howard Dean. And so my interest was largely about foreign affairs, and then it grew into healthcare because I found healthcare is foundational to all things, economic things, anything in your life. If you're not well, you can't work. And so when I talk about abortion rights, I'm talking about the biggest economic decision a woman will ever make in her life. There's literally nothing else that a woman will take on in terms of graduate school or a home ownership. It's the same as the choice to have a child. And so that's important. Abortion rights, but also access to healthcare on a basic level. If you cannot go to work because you're ill, then your family suffers and you suffer. And so that being so foundational to everything, health policy has really been something that drives me, and I think that's why I got into politics and have stayed in it.
Your Endicott education really helped you get into these positions. What advice do you have for any students who are looking to get into the political realm moving forward?
I would say try. Keep meeting people and be aggressive in who you can meet and network with. And also, you may not agree with me politically, but I am here as a resource for you. And I'm always happy to talk to folks about my journey. And I would say it's really important to try things on campus. I had done a political initiative on campus when I was my senior year. I'd written an op-ed for the International Herald Tribune and Boston Globe about the war. And it basically called out my peers for being apathetic about the war. And Dr. Wiley challenged me and said, if you think everyone's apathetic, well, what are you going to do about it? I'll give you a small nest egg to try and engage the population. So I got newspapers delivered to, you have this now probably every day, but 10 years ago, newspapers were not being delivered to every dorm. I had these little table tents that I put on every student center table where I talked about the news of the week. And I did different initiatives to get kids to care about what was happening in our lives, particularly as it related to the war, because so many of our peers weren't serving or untouched by it. We had like a yellow ribbon, but not much more. So, that initiative, maybe it wasn't as successful as a campaign that I've run later in life, but it was a great starter balloon. And that's the joy of being at Endicott. It's such a small school that try. there's an opportunity for that. There's creative latitude, and that's a testament to our leadership and also our professors here.